Hello folks, I know it's been about, I don't know, 3 months since my last update. I think this is update 6. I've gotten to a point in this build where we're getting close to needing an engine. So I'm going to cover a few things with you today. Hang in there with me. We'll go through this piece by piece. So I worked on a lot of different systems while I've been away from you. Brakes was my first major system that I went through. Frankly, from there, kind of got I think the fuels were already pretty much finalized. I don't have the pressure regulator in there yet, but I just maybe tacked them down a little better. We got the radiator. You can kind of see it here installed and in place. And then I worked my way into the electrical system. So let me break down the brakes first. I think there's a lot to be learned with the brake system. And if you are watching this and you're building a vehicle, hopefully I can kind of give you an insight on not only how I did it on this vehicle, but maybe some of the challenges you'll have. For me, it seemed like a really straightforward task doing the brake lines, bending them all up and kind of planning out the way I wanted it to route. It's one thing to really get a grasp of what you need to do. It's one thing to actually execute it. And bending up brake lines, I quickly realized that this is an art form, and it's probably something that a lot of people overlook as a challenging thing to try and tackle on this car. Let's start with how I bent them up. I used a couple hand benders from Eastwood. They had a 2-pack that they had. One was more of a kind of an on-the-fly type of bender, and one's more of a mandrel bender. The mandrel bender, obviously, if you planned it all out and you had your length of line that you needed and the angle, the compound bend angle that you needed to establish, if you knew that and you knew how to execute it pretty well, that hand bender, that mandrel bender was really efficient. It did a great job. It lined up the lines really well. And I got some places I used it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. In some areas, it wasn't so easy, especially when you get into the box. Factory 5 gives you a couple 8-inch pieces. They give you a couple 20-inch pieces and 3 or 4 60-inch runs, right? So to get to the front to the rear of the vehicle, you got some 60-inch lines. But up front and in the rear to go cross car, they provided a couple 20s. I think a couple 20s, maybe a 40. They had a weird selection of lengths in there. What I can tell you is up front, going laterally, so going across the car, I ended up using the 20s per the instructions with a junction in the middle. Opted not to do that. Having that junction port right in the middle is just another leak point that I'm going to have to deal with. So I ended up ditching those 20s and went with 140. So I ended up going to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's was my friend in this process because I ended up screwing up a few lines along the way. Thus, you probably won't see any video footage of me actually putting the lines in because it was a bit ugly from time to time. And I don't know if the language would be acceptable on the internet. Quickly with the brakes, the way I have the brakes organized on this vehicle. So I'm opting to go with what Factory 5 provides for you. I think if you get a hydraulic clutch system, they actually give you a second reservoir that goes for the clutch, which is great. You get one reservoir, I think is meant to be your primary reservoir for your front and rear brakes. The way I'm doing this, since I went with the hydraulic clutch and I got 2 reservoirs, I'm going to segregate my front and rear brakes by reservoir and then utilize my rear brake reservoir as a reservoir for the hydraulic clutch as well. So what you'll notice here, looking at my rear brakes, and this is my hydraulic clutch line. These are union down here, and then I only have 2 lines coming out of my my front pedal box panel. So I got my junction line coming up to this reservoir, then my front brakes will be on their very own reservoir up front. So I do have a segregation. I'm just kind of repopulating this specific one for the hydraulic clutch as well. If I don't like that, I can always split these lines up and put a reservoir somewhere else, but I think this should work for now. So real quick, we'll just go front to rear. Excuse the hose, I'm getting ready to bench bleed. Bench bleed in the vehicle, my master cylinders. So let me just lay out how I set this thing up. I'm sure there'll be plenty of debate on why you wouldn't do this or how you would do it differently, but I basically came out of my master cylinder line. So this is my front brakes, my rear brakes. Both those lines come out of here, cross down the basically driver's side outer cross member, and then pass to the front under here, and then plug into my remote booster, actually. And then from the booster comes out, it's a little tough to see, comes out of this end and down to each wheel. It then crosses over from left hand to right hand side of the vehicle. And then on this side of the booster comes out, boom, and this goes to the rear. So I basically traversed the longitudinal rail all the way to my first junction. So that's my first junction for the 60-inch line, and then continued on down the transmission tunnel to the rear. All right, welcome to the rear. Lines come up through transmission tunnel. I had a choice to make. This was probably something that I kind of probably labored over a lot longer than I needed to, is whether or not to stay on the right-hand side and route to the right-hand caliper, or continue it on, bring it to the left-hand side of the vehicle down to this junction point and then cross over. I opted to actually traverse to the left-hand side because I kind of wanted to keep my bleed set up exactly the same as it usually is. It's a stupid reason, I know, but I put the junction over here on the left-hand side and then routed the brake line across. This was my first secondary purchase. This was a 40-inch line that I had to get because, again, I didn't want to have two 20s in here with a junction. I wanted 140. So the hydraulic system is totally torqued down, and I'm getting ready to leak test it. The electrical system is a little bit of a work in progress still. Obviously, I don't have the powertrain yet, which means I don't have the control pack and a lot of the supplemental stuff that comes just with the engine, right? The computer that comes with the engine. There's another fuse panel that comes with it. So I'm doing as much as I can until I actually get the motor purchased and installed. Electrical was pretty straightforward. Everything's well labeled from Factory 5. They did a pretty good job. I mean, it's a pretty standard sealed connectors, and everything is well labeled on each one of the lines. So it makes it a hell of a lot easier when you're going to start adding stuff into the mix and not being too confusing. I'm opting to go with some additional components that weren't included in the kit. I'm getting them all figured out right now and how I want to lay it out. So the only one thing that I'm not going to install, some people do, it's pretty controversial probably, is a sound system. I was close. My son really wanted to put it in this vehicle, but there's not a lot of room for the speaker behind the seat. In fact, I couldn't even get a 6-inch speaker to really fit in there well. So I said, the heck with it. I'm not going to probably end up being able to hear the sound system over the side pipes anyway. So I'm going to leave it out for now. I think it's something I can add later if I choose to. It just would be easier now to maybe route some of the wires, and I might put a circuit back there just as a precautionary method for later if I want to add an amp and a sound system in. So yeah, let's talk about the wiring real quick. All right, we'll just go front to rear. We got the front harnesses, so basically corner lights and headlights. That's all in place, and basically routing down the front cross member up. Got the horn circuit here. I haven't spliced in for the ground yet. I haven't done any of that, but that's in place. And of course the fan controls are tucked in back there. So yeah, the front harness is routed in. I haven't secured all the placement, but basically it's gonna route. I'm gonna put a standoff clip and jettison it down a little bit from where the brake tubes are, but we're gonna be routing underneath this cross member up front. Getting into the compartment. So let's get into the pedal box. You can see my front harness routing through the dash panel. They supply the grommet for that. Routes through pretty well. I opted to get pretty close up of these standoff clips. These harness standoff clips are pretty slick. They actually give, I don't know, I think they're just, you can put them in some areas where maybe the insulated clip or the isolated clip doesn't really fit well. And in some cases, I just think it looks better. It gives the harness a little bit of flexibility to move, but not a ton. And yeah, they hold pretty well. It's a fir tree clip with a zip tie associated, right? It's a very common automotive application. Got the front harness wired in. Yeah, let's talk about what is this red thing, right? So unfortunately, I don't have the plate they supply you. Factory 5 supplies you with a mounting plate for the fuse panel. This is the fuse panel sitting in here. That mounting plate, it goes on some vehicle, but not this vehicle. So I think it was probably designed for the previous versions in the way the structure is in the pedal box. There was no way without a heavy modification of that bracket that it was going to work well in this area, and I just didn't like the concept. So what I ended up doing is I scanned all this in using my phone LiDAR. I'll probably have to do a video just on that whole process I did. So I scanned this whole driver's side corner in and brought that into CAD. I CAD'd up a mount feature, and this is your proof of concept. This is probably the third version in the design process for it. You can see I'm going to attach it with a couple probably put some rib nuts into this driver's side cross member, and then run some 1/4 inch screws down. One of the nice things about designing your own bracket up is I could put a hole in here for a fixing point for the main harness when the time comes. So this is going to be a pretty slick setup. The red, I made it out of PLA plastic, so it's kind of a cheap plastic that I could do a proof of concept of. I just purchased some carbon fiber enforced PETG plastic that I'm going to end up making that my final version. It should be a lot stiffer and should be able to easily manage the loads. The only other thing I'm going to probably end up printing out again to go in this area adjacent to it, or maybe make it even part of this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but is the OBD port mount in light. So I'll probably end up mounting the OBD port in there and doing another design up separately for that once I have the OBD in my possession and can start measuring it. As you can see, I started routing some of the wires, cut a couple holes in the panel. I got one more hole I'm going to probably have to cut in to get all the wires routed through. But for the most part, yeah, I'm just kind of establishing, you know, where the harness is going to fit behind the dash so I can kind of get at it. One more thing on the front I forgot to kind of get into, battery connection. So the battery is a bit of a fun little project I had going on. I don't obviously have a negative cable coming out of here yet, but I do have my positives in here. The plate that comes with it is made for a full-size battery. Like a lot of people that are probably building a Mark V with the remote booster, are going to find that putting a full-size battery in here probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense for packaging. I think it's going to be way too tight, especially when you envision a full-size Coyote motor sitting in here. That serpentine system is probably going to be sitting somewhere in this area. with hoses all running to it and everything, right? It's going to be tight to get this battery out. So I opted for an Odyssey, this lower profile, this 925 battery. It's got plenty of power to get it cranking. There's not a lot of electrical systems to support, so I think this is going to be a good setup. What I ended up doing is I took there's an original battery mounting plate that came with this, which was made for a full-size battery. I didn't need it anymore, so I ended up cutting it down. It's a little tough to see. I'll try and get a little close, but you can kind of see in this area down here. I cut it and formed it to the braces, and basically made a skid plate out of it. And then I bought from Arctic, I bought their mount. It was the cheapest one I could find. Powder coated it, and I basically am mounting this mount through the mount that was originally for this for the battery into the cross members and tying them both down. So I got a couple points up front, a couple points in the rear. It is secure. This thing isn't going anywhere. Yeah, that's the battery setup. A lot has happened with the rear since the last time we had chatted. I got the fuel lines isolated and firmly mounted inside here, routed, tightened down, and ready to rock and roll. We got the rear harness in. So the rear harness is on this vehicle is coming up on the right-hand side trans tunnel. It traverses across and then splits up to the sending unit, to the pump, and to both the rear tail lamps, as well as I just have it looped up down here, but that's going to be the circuits that go to the license plate in the hood, the deck lid. So this is what it looks like now. So let's talk a little bit about the Cerakote process. I had a chance, maybe for my first opportunity to get at it a few weeks ago. I went with a air cured Cerakote, so it's a C series paint. It's called Black Graphite, I believe is the name of it. I bought a kit. So the kit came with the gun. It came with a sample of paint, as well as various things you need, like you got the filter and stuff like that. You need to go with it. Honestly, a very easy learning curve. My first few panels, I streaked a couple of them, and I don't think I did a great job on a few of the panels, and some of them I did a great job on. So I think it's just a matter of getting used to, how far away you are, making sure the gun's set up really well, and your speed and so on, right? It's everything that comes with painting a vehicle or painting anything with a professional instrument. It's going to take a little practice, and I figured some of the panels that aren't going to be visible by the body, well, let's practice on those before I go and hit my side pipes. So let's talk a little bit about the setup and execution of laying down the Cerakote. I will preface this with saying I did not follow the recommendations from Cerakote, so I will take the responsibility if this paint doesn't lay down right, but I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you what Cerakote suggests. So Cerakote, first, I guess we should start off saying prep is a big thing they push, and I think with any painting, it's probably something that's a primary importance. They want you to sandblast your panels. I don't have a sandblaster. I didn't want to purchase one just to do brand new panels. I'm not sandblasting oiled down parts that are coming off an engine or something like that. I'm sandblasting relatively brand new parts that have some tooling oil on them probably, but never really saw a lot of time in scaling and stuff like that, and corrosion, right? Comes with use over time. So I opted to get some acetone. I cleaned the parts down. I then got an angle grinder out, put some Scotch-Brite pads on there, which essentially are aluminum oxide compound pads. And I just sanded the parts down. I scuffed them up really good, both sides in every case. And then I went back through, I cleaned it again with some acetone, got the part completely free of any oils and impurities. and then went at it with the gun. I can tell you that it was a pretty easy process. I find it was exciting. It was the first time I've ever painted anything, and God knows I need to get some practice because I do plan on painting this car. I'm not sure if I'm going to rent a booth and paint it in there, but I want to paint it. I want to be part of that process. I want this car to be 100% something that I did from scratch, and I'll take ownership of every one of the problems I create, right? So this was my first experience with applying paint using a pressurized gun, right? So it was fun. I still got a lot of parts to do. I got some of the primary parts that were holding me up. The primary part being the front of the pedal box. There's a lot of stuff that passes from the front of the pedal box into the rest of the car. You got harnesses, brake lines, brake hoses, the steering shaft, right? There's a lot of stuff that I couldn't actually get finished and hooked up until I had that front pedal box aluminum panel painted and installed. So now that I got it installed, I could actually kind of progress the build and feel pretty comfortable about the work I'm doing. I can't say enough. It laid on pretty well. It dried relatively fast. One thing to note, don't paint on an 85-degree day with high humidity. You are not going to like the results. I laid out, I don't know, 4 or 5 parts on a stand. And by the time I had the first side done on 5 of those parts and worked my way to the second side, the first side that I did was already flashed over. Honestly, I was catching it late. It was drying so fast that I just could not keep up with it. It was really difficult. So I would say, stick with the recommendations. They tell you 80 degrees is about the ceiling that you want to apply the paint. I would stick with that. I think there's a lot to it, and the humidity plays a huge role. Something I wasn't aware of is how fast paint flashes off in a high humidity atmosphere. It didn't even occur to me that was going to be as big as an issue as it probably ended up being. With that being said, I still laid the paint down. It's on the panels. It's sticking pretty well. But what I can tell you is when it comes to like my side pipes, I'm going to wait for that perfect day. I want to set the part up just perfectly because I don't, this is going to be something everybody's going to see. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that it is my absolute best foot forward. And here's a good look at the outcome. I think they turned out really well. I still am missing one panel on the passenger side foot box, but the finish turned out pretty well. Got a few fingerprints I got to get off there, but yeah, the only reason I really went to Cerakote, it's an air cure, which is very, very nice in this case. I didn't have to go to a powder coater and actually do that. And B, it's good to 1800 degrees, so it's actually a pretty good heat-resistant material for where the headers, right? The headers are going to come right out of this area, and your side pipes will kind of continue on. So this area is going to see some heat. It's definitely going to see some heat. I plan on Cerakoting basically all the panels in or around my engine. I may Cerakote the B side of my waterfall and my dash. And of course, I'll do the same thing on the opposite side there for the driver's footbox. And here's the panel for the driver's footbox. So we'll talk maybe one of the last things that I've done since the last time we chatted is I started final assembling some of the cockpit panels. This, where you see the rivets, this is all one big floor panel that wraps up the tunnel. Some of these secondary panels I'm not going to install right now because honestly I don't see any reason for doing that. So this one, the transmission top panels, I'm not going to get those installed until after I get the engine installed. It seems like it'd just be a hell of a lot easier to access everything without adding more complication in my life. Some of the back panels, so obviously the major back panel is installed. Some of the corner panels that go around the back wheel zones, I don't have this one done yet. I do have this one roughly installed right now, but it's not riveted down yet. I just have some Clecos holding it in place. So yeah, panels are starting to look good. It's starting to really take form. So the question is, what's next? What's next? I'm gonna end up finishing up the rest of these panels. It'll probably be a few different painting sessions to get them all completed. And that'll be really dictated on this weather. Right now it's 95 and humid. So we are probably another week away from me being able to finish up painting some of these panels. So it'll give me some opportunities to get the panels all sanded down and ready for application of paint. But once I get the panels done, I'm going to do some of the last electrical hookups. And in the process, in parallel, I've honestly already reached out to Factory 5. I'm looking at purchasing the motor here super soon. I'm just trying to get a feel for when it's going to be in and how much time I have before we get it. What I really need is the controls pack. The engine is, to me, is not as important as the controls pack because I really like to get a good handle of the wiring. I think the wiring is going to be, you know, a little more complex of a thing to handle, especially since I'm doing a few things differently in the whole process. You know, obviously we're working with a Coyote motor, so you got a lot of electronics involved in running that system. So I'd like to get those kind of hammered away as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna finish up painting the panels, and I'll try to bring you along for the ride as it matures. All right, folks, that is update number 6. I'll try to be a little better about updating the content. I think as the temperatures cool down, I'm actually able to get out here and not completely die in the time it takes to even do a simple video. I'll try and tackle a few more things and take you along for the ride. That's it. See you later.